this shirt yesterday. It says, reading is cool. Because it is cool. And I like to read. And I'm cool. Okay, hi. My name is Eli and I like to talk about books. Welcome back to my channel. I read some books in April and I'm going to talk about them and it's going to be a mess. Like my last video. Messes are just how it works. No, I'm trying to look like Kit Connor. Is it working? I know it's not, okay? I'm sorry. I just tried my best. We're gonna go through this pretty fast. I read 27 books in April. Wow. Let's begin. First book that I read and finished, I talked about my last wrap up because I started it in March, is Home by Toni Morrison. I read it for school. It's about a young man, Frank, who returns home from the Korean War. He starts in Seattle and he's trying to find his sister in Georgia. And that's basically the premise. It's not very long. It's a pretty short novel. I don't know. I read it for school. I read it twice. It was good. Each time it got better. It's also interesting to hear Toni Morrison talk about it. So if you have the opportunity to do that, I would say do it. You can Google it probably. Anyway, Home by Toni Morrison. I gave it 4 stars. So I'm distracted. I have crumbs on my bed. I'm filming this on my bed. Reading is cool. All right, moving on. The next book that I read is Will and Testament by Vigdis Hjorth, translated from the Norwegian. I also started this one in March, and I really didn't like it. Like, I really did not like it. I thought it would be very interesting. It's about there's 4 children of this couple, and 2 of the children do not talk to their parents anymore. And then their will comes out, or they're reworking their will, and the 2 children that do talk to the parents are going to get these cabins, and the 2 children who don't are going to get money, supposedly an equivalent of, but then it doesn't turn out to be, you know, like they've estimated the price of the cabins right, and there's a huge dispute. And also, why don't these kids get some of the cabins like they were told years ago that they were going to, and whatever. So the narrator is someone who is not in a good relationship with her parents, and you don't know why she and her brother are not in this good relationship. And I really thought I would want to finish it because I want to know what happened in the family to make it so that this dispute about who gets these cabins is important. I just didn't care enough though. I think it might have had something to do with the way it was written. I'm not sure. I can't put my finger on exactly why I didn't like it, but I just didn't like it. I just didn't want to finish reading. I didn't care about who got the cabins, why they didn't get the cabins, what they were gonna do to figure it out. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was Will and Testament. I wish I liked it better, I guess, because I thought it sounded so cool, but I just couldn't finish it. The next book I read was The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. Absolutely wonderful. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. I like Neil Gaiman a lot. Thought I didn't. Like 5 years ago, he would ask me, hey, you like Neil Gaiman? And I'm like, Coraline was cool, I guess. I really like his stuff now, and I think it's just because he's writing fairy tales for an older crowd, and when I was 5 years ago, I was reading fairy tales because I wanted them to be fairy tales, and I didn't realize that was what Neil Gaiman was doing. Anyway, The Ocean at the End of the Lane is about this man who comes back to his hometown, and there's a friend who lives at the house at the end of the lane, and there's a pond, and he basically steps into the pond and is like, oh, I remember everything about our childhood now. And when he leaves the pond, he's like, who are you? I know you. I know you. Basically, it's like that. And it was absolutely wonderful. It's not very long, very short, just whimsical, magical, quintessential Neil Gaiman as far as I'm concerned. And I really enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend. His magic worlds are awesome because they're not totally different from reality. It's just reality with a little pocket of magic. I like that a lot. Highly recommend. Alright. The next book I read was The Awakening by Kate Chopin. This is a classic, I guess. It's about a woman who's living in some island somewhere, maybe, I don't know, summer, and then her husband leaves, as in like he just goes back home. They don't divorce, but she starts having an affair with some other man, and then he can't love her back, and I don't know, it's confusing, and I don't really know what was going on the entire time, but it was fun to read, and I'd like to read it again, which is always a good sign, and I gave it 4 stars, and I'm sure you could find some more cohesive thoughts about it, so I'm not going to continue talking about it, because I don't have any thoughts about it that are sensical. And the next book I started was Dubliners by James Joyce, which is a collection of his short stories, and I just don't think short stories are for me. Generally, I don't pick them up. I don't gravitate towards them. I'd rather read a shorter novel in one sitting than like a bunch of short stories, or like a short story and then some chapters and a short story. It's just not my thing, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to read them. Wish that I wasn't like that, because like I would love to write short stories, and I feel like you can't really write something if you don't read it. But like at the same time, I can't read them happily. Like I can't read it and be like, I loved that. So anyway, that's part of the reason I didn't finish Dubliners. The other reason I think is just because James Joyce went over my head, and I heard that, and I was like, maybe, and what turned out to be true, so didn't finish that one. The next book I read was Fablehaven by Brandon Mull, which is a middle grade fantasy story that I loved when I was in well, you know, in elementary school, and I reread it because my friend was talking about it, and it's like her comfort read, and I was like, awesome, I loved that book when I was a kid. And she was like, do you want to borrow it? And I was like, heck yes I do. Did not like it as much as I thought I would, and I think that's just because it's a childhood favorite, and when you reread childhood favorites, it's not always going to be as good as you thought it was, because my expectations are higher now. I've read other middle grade books that are really good, that I liked more than Fablehaven, and it is still very fun, but it does seem like drink your milk. Drink your milk, kids. Anyway, yeah. Nope, Fablehaven was good. 3 stars. If you're an elementary school kid, which probably not, but if you know any or whatever, I don't know. If you're in elementary school, read it, because it's good for younger children. It's not good for 20-year-olds. Just putting that out into the world. It's not intended for 20-year-olds. Wonder why? Whew, okay. The next book I read was No Longer Human. I have been seeing this around a lot. I thought it was a new book. It's not a new book. It's a republished version of an old book, I guess. New translation, perhaps. It's Japanese. Anyway, it's about this man who basically is like, I don't fit in with humans. I'm lonely and I don't get social cues. And I was like, are we talking about me? Because me. And it was really good. It was hard to read because he's just so, maybe it was hard to read because he's so relatable. I don't know. Anyway, it was hard to read, but it was really good, and I really enjoyed it. He's not a very happy guy. I don't know. I don't have thoughts because there's just vibes. I don't know. I don't know. I loved the writing style, the very like impersonal, but personal. Like it's like impersonal but emotional subjects. You know, that makes sense. I think so. Anyway, so I love that writing, and I actually picked up Desai's other book, so I'm excited to read that, The Setting Sun, which is, I think, more popular. I don't know. I think maybe it's the first one. Listen, guys, I don't know. Anyway, I liked No Longer Human. I gave it 4 stars. Let's just move on before I literally combust. The next book I read was Bridge to Terabithia. I cried. And I read it sitting at the bar, and I just remember the bartender being like, are you crying? I was like, yeah, the book's sad. And he was like, you're crying over a book? And I was like, Josh, don't even come for me. Don't even come for me. Anyway, it is sad. It's not as good as the movie, though. I'm just gonna put it out there. It's just not as in-depth. It's just, I don't know. Because in the movie, they, like, picture Terabithia. And in this, I was kind of just like, I guess it's fine. It's just sad. But, again, the movie just reigns supreme. Highly recommend the movie. Don't know if I recommend the book. But it is sad. I did cry. Alright, the next book I read was The Emissary by Yoko Tawada. This is about an old man. Is it post-apocalyptic? I have no idea. Anyway, it's an old man who is raising his grandson or his great-grandson. I believe it's just his grandson. Anyway, in this world, older people are more able than younger people. Like, younger people basically have, like, they turn into, like, a people from WALL-E. Like, they can't move on their own. You know, it's very dangerous. Their bones are weak. I don't know. Anyway, old people have all these, like, harder jobs, like, physical labor jobs. And it's just about this grandfather and his grandson and how they are living in the world and the next steps they're going to take. Another key point is that Japan has isolated itself from the rest of the world. So it's like they won't allow anything in or out, which is kind of like the part of the reason that they did this is because of whatever is happening with the youth. And maybe it's worldwide, maybe it's just Japan. That wasn't exactly clear. But anyway, so it's like everything, no trade or anything. So everything is within Japan. And the reason it's called the emissary is because, like, this young boy, you know, connect the dots. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. Yoko Tawada is amazing. It's pretty cool, actually. I bought her other book. I'm really into Japanese fiction right now, apparently. Highly recommend. 4 stars. The next book I read was Jacob's Room, which I actually just finished like 2 days ago. Yesterday, actually, just kidding. It's by Virginia Woolf. I love Virginia Woolf. The book is less cohesive than some other books by Virginia Woolf I've read. The same vibes, you know, snapshots of things, moments, rather than like a narrative. And I just love her writing so much, and it's just beautiful, and I don't know, very, very just Virginia Woolf. Probably not what I'd start with Virginia Woolf, but like, it was still pretty good. And the next book I read was Tokyo Ghoul, the manga. I read the first one, very cool, very emo. I actually really liked it. I've been reading manga, like not that many, but I've read like 2 the past 2 months, and like I actually am quite enjoying them, so I think I'm gonna start reading more. But I'm gonna start by getting the second Tokyo Ghoul and the second Toilet Bound, because I loved that. So anyway, yeah, Tokyo Ghoul's fun. It's about this boy who, there's this boy, and he's in school, and he has this crush on a girl, and then she turned out to be a ghoul, and then like something happens, and it goes crazy, and he's like, oh god. Anyway, it's pretty fun. It's about like being human and being a monster and things about and within that. Yeah, I told you this was gonna be a mess. Thank you for believing me. All right, the next book I read was Whereabouts by Jhumpra Lahiri. This has been on my radar forever, but it just came out in paperback, or at least I just noticed it come out in paperback this month. So, well, or last month. It's May 1st today. Whoa. Anyway, I just noticed it in paperback, so I bought it and I read it, and it's basically, I gave it 5 stars. I honestly, at this moment, current me does not remember that whole much about it. Just a lot of loneliness. And like, the reason I think it's called Whereabouts is because the narrator just talks about like where she is, like what happens on the street, what happens in the cafe, that kind of thing. Again, loneliness is just like, hits me in the, you can't see it, but like right in the gut. And that just, So I read this book in one go. Like, I could not put it down. It was amazing. I would highly recommend, especially if you're lonely. And also, it's not American, which is sometimes very cool to read something. I believe it's set in Italy. When was the last time you read a book set in Italy? For me, it was Whereabouts, but before that, I don't know. The next book I read is a very huge shift, and it was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, which is a romance book that everyone's been talking about. And like, I get why everyone's talking about it. That was a good romance book. I don't usually read romance. Like literally, I don't think I've ever read like a romance book, one that's shelved in the romance section, except here than I did, because I've heard really good things about Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and I just wanted to try it, and I did, and wow. It's so good. If that's what all romance books are like, I want to read romance books, but I kind of don't think that's what all romance books are like. Talia Hibbert does more than just the romance. Like, she also makes them real people, which I really enjoy. I don't just want to know about Chloe and Red getting together. I want to know how Chloe's her own person, how Red's his own person, and just wow. She did that, and she was like, here you go. And I was like, thank you. Thank you, Talia Hibbert. I'll go out and buy your next 2 books, which I did, and they're both in this list. But let's move on from Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which is my second favorite of the 3. It's the middle one for me. It's the middle sister. Even though Chloe's the oldest, Get a Life, Chloe Brown is the middle sister. I liked her story. I relate to the chronic illness because my ex has a chronic illness and like chronic pain. However, it's just my middle tier, right? Okay. Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Amazing, incredible, read it. I think it's impossible to regret reading that, but like, I don't know. 4 out of 5. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Okay, the next book I read was Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion, which is a collection of her essays, including Slouching Towards Bethlehem, the title essay about hippies. It's all published between like 1964 and 1967, I guess, are the essays. I like Joan Didion's writing. This is my first full collection by Joan Didion. I've read one-off essays. I think I read like 3 in my life, and so then this was my first like Joan Didion. I enjoyed it, but not as much as I thought I would, I guess. Sorry, I just got distracted. Anyway, I enjoyed it, but not as much as I thought I would. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to read. I have Play It Where It Lays, which is her novel, I'm more excited to read that, I think, just because essays, like, again, I read novels, and I'm trying to get into other forms of stuff, but it's hard sometimes, okay? Anyway, so I tried the essays. I gave it 3.5 stars. Not everything was great. I guess. That's just what I'm feeling. Not everything was amazing. Some were really awesome. Some weren't. But I'm glad I read some Joan Didion. It's due time. All right. The next book I read was Palace of the Peacock by Wilson Harris. I got this because the Faber and Faber edition looked really cool. Basically no other reason. As in, like, the cover design was cool. And I gave it 3.5 stars. It was like, I think the point was to make me go, what now? And I did. It's about this band of brothers searching for this woman. Not brothers, like, both literally and not, because, like, they're, like, brothers, but also some of them are actually brothers. Anyway, this band of men is what I meant to say. I'm sorry my face is in the dark. My window's over there, and I didn't... It's, an artistic choice, okay? Thank you. Anyway, well, yes, this band of men, they're traveling up this river in South America, maybe? I don't really remember, to be honest. Basically, are they dead? Are they not dead? How do I know? And what are they looking for? And am I going insane as reading this book? Probably. But it was also really interesting and hard to put down. So, yeah, I think, like, a lot of these more intellectual, heady books I need to read twice, which isn't going to happen anytime soon, but, like, I did really like Palace of the Peacock. And then on the same vein, Mrs. Caliban by Rachel Ingalls, I picked up, also Faber and Faber editions, and it looked really cool. This is about a woman who is unhappy in her marriage, and then a man who's actually a fish man shows up. And she's like, well, and he's like, all right. But I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I did. I did not like the Pisces, so I was not expecting to like Mrs. Caliban, except I just really wanted to read it because, like, I've heard interesting things about it, and, like, it's interesting for sure. I actually liked it a lot better than the Pisces. It was more this unhappy woman in the 80s, you know, rather than, like, modern doctorate, lost 30-year-old. So anyway, this unhappy woman in the 80s meets a man fish and has sex with him, has an affair with him. Sorry, should be more accurate. It was good, actually. I gave it 4 stars. It was interesting. It's really interesting, but I enjoyed it. And overall, I'm glad I read it. And the next book I read was Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert, which is the third sister in the Brown sisters trio. So actually the youngest. I did not actually find Take a Hint, Nanny Brown until later in the month. But anyway, I read Act Your Age, Eve Brown. This one was my favorite. Top tier. Wonderful. Why? Because I just relate so hard to Eve. I do, however, like Red better than I like Jacob. Anyway, Act Your Age, Eve Brown. Romance. So good, because it's not just about the romance. They're all their individual people. This one, I guess I should say, like, what the trope is, because I feel like Get a Life, Chloe Brown is, like, not necessarily, like, enemies to lovers, basically. They do not like each other. And then they actually start talking to each other, and you're like, duh. Of course, you should have done that in the first place. Act Your Age, Eve Brown is more like, I mean, they also don't like each other, but I guess I wouldn't say it's hate to love. It's more just like you get up on the wrong foot. I don't know. And I'll just go right on to Take a Hint, Nanny Brown, which I also read this month. Anyway, Take a Hint, Nanny Brown is a fake romance. Also very good. I really like Take a Hint, Nanny Brown, and it's my least favorite. So, like, all of them are good. Like, really good. I think Eve Brown was my favorite, or maybe Chloe Brown. I don't know. Anyway, just all the romances are just so good, but the fake dating plot was good. And yeah, I don't know. All 3 books were just good. Check out Talia Hibbert, the Brown sisters, so good. I wish there were more, but I also don't, because I think it's, like, such a good 3 sisters make so much sense. So anyway, okay. Those were my romance books. I didn't read any other romance books. That's a lie. I did read 4 other romance books, but they're the last ones on my list, so, like, we'll wait a second. The next book I read was The True Deceiver by Tiva Janssen, which is another one of her short novels, not Moomin, you know, adult. It's about this woman, basically, who is just like, I hate everyone, and I'm just gonna pretend to be someone because it gets me where I want to go in life. And yeah. It was interesting. It was good. I enjoyed it because I really like Tove Jansson. And that's, yeah, I mean, she just has such a writing. I just love her writing. I just love it. I just love it. I just had to. I loved it. I read it in one night. I was kind of drunk, but I remember really liking it. So there you go. The summer book is still top tier, but The True Deceiver was pretty good. And Fair Play was also pretty good, but summer book, top tier. Anyway, the next book I read made me literally sob many times, and I was reading it on the ferry, which was really not good, and that was Loveless by Alice Oseman. And I don't actually think I'm gonna be able to talk about this very much because, wow, I related so hard. I'm gonna cry, so I'm not gonna talk about it. I give it 5 stars. Alice Oseman, I have so much respect, and I want to be here so bad. So, Loveless, if you haven't read it. If you haven't read it and you're questioning your sexuality, highly recommend. Highly recommend Radio Silence. Highly recommend I Was Born for This. Highly recommend Solitaire. And then Heartstopper, which is the last 4 books I read this month. Volume 1 through 4. And then also like the rest that's out online, not in a physical copy yet, because a week and 2 days ago, Heartstopper, the TV show, came out, and I have seen it probably 14, 15 times. It's my comfort show. It makes me cry. Again, I have very complicated feelings about this. We're not going to go into it, but Heartstopper is wonderful. This is a world that since 10th grade, literally 2017, I've been like, all right, I want to, please let me live in this world. And they made a TV show, and I get to sort of live in the world a little bit more than I already did. Anyway, Heartstopper just makes my heart like, it's just so good. Anyway, highly recommend. God, gosh, Alice Oseman, anything by Alice Oseman, just read it. Just read it. Oh my God, just read it. Anyway, okay. I have a couple other books to mention, and those books that I started in April but have not finished yet. One of them is The Secret Adversary by Agatha Christie. It's a Tommy and Tuppence novel. I'm not liking it so much. It's not a whodunit murder mystery, which I feel like I prefer, I guess. I haven't read that many Agatha Christie, but like the other ones that I have read have been murder mystery, and this isn't. And I just feel like I should probably stick to murder mystery. I like the whodunit things. So anyway, I'm reading The Secret Adversary. I'm also reading the collected journals of Sylvia Plath, which, again, just like takes me a while. I'm not gonna say anything. It's Sylvia Plath. I'm reading it. It's just taking me a while. The other book I'm reading is Bleak House by Charles Dickens. I actually am enjoying it, and I'm reading it. I'm making significant progress. It's just 1,000 pages long. So I probably will finish it this month in like the next 2 weeks, next week. But it's very, very long. So anyway, and then I'm also reading L'étranger by Camus, which I'm still enjoying. It's just French, and French takes me a long time. And then last night, or late in the night, I started Yoke by Mary Choi. I'm not vibing with it, but I've heard really good things about it, so I don't want to stop reading it. But I'm gonna give it, I'm, not very far into it. I'm gonna give it more of a chance and see how we're feeling. But I might DNF it, which is not a great way to start off the month, unfortunately, but that might just be how it is. That is the books I read in April. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be coming back with more because I have ideas. I have more ideas. I have more time right now, and it's gonna happen. It is going to happen. Anyway, again, I hope you enjoyed. Come back. And I love you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I realized while editing this that my dad is right. I do not talk about books well. Suck it up. I'm working on it, okay? Also, if you've made it this far, the next video I'm gonna do, my dog is here, I forgot. Hi, buddy. Anyway, the next book I'm gonna read, or the next video I'm gonna do, if you're still watching, sneak peek, is all the books that Isaac reads in Heartstopper, I think, because that show, oh God. I'm out.